Hey there, Tarot Tubers. Today I have 5 decks to share with you. Whoops, it's actually 8 decks that help you to work with your story. And so as usual, I'm going to show you these decks, introduce you to the authors, show you the books, the box, and then of course I'm going to talk to you about how I work with these decks, because what good are decks unless you have an idea on how to work with them? And the idea behind this is that part of what I do with tarot and oracle is I work with my story. My story is the narrative that I have created about myself that creates the reality around me. And so when I work with myself and I do the inner work through story, I open myself to being able to rescript and understand why I've created the stories that I do and why I keep recreating certain stories in my life. So without further ado, first up on my list is by Let's Hao Wang. It's actually 2 decks and they work wonderfully in tandem. I've covered the Oracle of Mythic Heroes before in another video, but he also released the Oracle of Celestial Deities. Both of these are really fun to work with because they are about stories themselves, like this one of Mythic Heroes. You know, when we explore our own stories, we really learn a lot about what we've come out of and where we're at the moment. They can teach us a lot, but when we explore ourselves through established stories, particularly myths teach us celestial truths. And it helps us to kind of get our own story out of the way and relate in a way that feels safe. So I'm just going to kind of show you these cards as I talk a little bit about them. Like I said, they work so well together. This one over here, the Oracle of Celestial Deities, is more of has a kind of an Art Nouveau feel to it. And I love all things Art Nouveau. This over here, I don't know how you would describe this. Not quite comic book, but definitely animated in style. I love the colors. And again, you can move through. This has all of your major planets and asteroids in it, which is really fun to go through. Letao is such a sweet person. His kindness, his gentleness, and his warmth really comes through in the way that he presents each one of the cards in the book. There's more than enough to go on with each card that you can go really, really deep. Here you can see it talking about Saturn, and then there's some keywords, karma, control, and the wish to restructure. It talks about the associations, Capricorn and Aquarius, and then of course a stone. And there's a talk, he'll speak on Saturn. He had a lot of his training in astrology, and so it really shines through in how he presents the planets. There's a teaching, and then it's got career and love for each one of them. If you're looking for something that, there's not a lot of love decks out there that I found. If you're looking for something that kind of highlights love, then the Oracle of Celestial Deities is going to have that little extra something. And then the Oracle of Mythic Heroes. Look at this chunky book. I enjoy working with this deck and seeing how it plays to my stories. So let's just go back to the beginning. So you will go through, this has different cards for each sign. So you'll get a couple cards for each one. It's black and white. It's a glossy book. It's good size. I like that it fits inside the box. All of you know how I feel about that. So here we have, he'll talk about the keywords, and then he's got like a little blurb that you read that kind of gets your mind going in this direction. And then the myth, which is really fun because you may not be familiar with the myth itself, and it's quite a bit. And I enjoy his style of storytelling. And then there's the teaching that you go through, and you can see it's two pages long. Tends to be 2 pages long, so there's a lot here to go on. There are 20 cards in the Oracle of Celestial Deities, And there are 40 cards in the Oracle of Mythical Heroes. And so I wanted to just show you how I use this, because what good is a deck, me showing you these things, if I don't show you how I use them? A great way to work with this is to shuffle the Oracle of Mythic Heroes and then pull a card on something that you're looking at. And, you know, here I got friendship. And then sometimes what I do is you can take this Oracle of Celestial Deities and actually go through, like, once you kind of feel your way into this card, I like to actually go through and see which one of these cards is standing out to me, just intuitively as I go through, which one is standing out to me as a partner, a way in which to work with this card. And actually I'm kind of feeling that, which is weird. And you don't have to overthink it. We tend to overthink things. No need to overthink, just trust yourself. Like, why is Vesta coming up? Sanctuary, purification, and the wish to isolate. So these seem very counter, but then you pick up the guidebooks here and you start reading up on them, and it's really interesting the ways in which these two will just work together and talk to you about where you are particularly at and how you can work with that energy. Again, these are by Latao Wang, and I think you'll find the books in particular, there's such a beautiful softness, and the way in which he connects with you, the reader, is so therapeutic. And he is a therapist, so therapeutic. Number 2 on my list is the Modern Goddess Oracle by Ethany. There's 49 cards in 49 goddesses and 16 empowered archetypes. And of course, lovely box. You will find that every deck that Ethany does is an experience. It feels very luxurious. I always appreciate that about her. The backs on here are gorgeous. All of her backs are gorgeous. I really love this style of illustration. It just feels so lively and modern, and it just feels like I can connect with these archetypes and these goddesses. I love the color scheme. It's bright, it's vibrant. It really draws me out of myself. So, you know, if I'm feeling like overwhelmed, pulling this deck out is going to feel like accessible. It's going to pull me out of myself and allow me to, I guess, just be more conscious and even more embodied, because it's drawing me out of the depths of my mind and drawing me more into my body. There's just something here that feels like it really activates me. Look at this, the mystic. Isn't that gorgeous? One of the things that I appreciate about this deck, and I'm sure that it is no accident, is the use of circles in the background of every single card. And to me, this is like a nod to the divine feminine, the circle itself, but also it's like looking through a keyhole at an aspect that is really big. A goddess is a really big thing to take a peek at. There's a body of understanding to draw from when we work with goddesses and archetypes from the collective consciousness that we can use to kind of look at our own story. So again, you've got goddesses and then you've got archetypes. You've got the artist here, you've got the mystic there. Here's Caradwen, Freya, Frigg. Look at this, the way that she's portrayed Frigg. Again, like the color palette, the style is really, really fun. And while I love the cards, it gets even better when you get to the book. Ethany is an amazing writer. And you can see here that you get the cards are on the left-hand side of the page, so you can kind of go like this through them to find your way. And like I said, as a writer, she really shines brightly. Her decks and the book are meant to really be worked with on a deep level. You can do just kind of surface, like you can just pull up the keyword and go on what's going on in the picture if you want. But you can explore your own story through checking out the symbols that are in here. It's so nice when an artist bothers to talk about the symbols that are in a card. Like you wonder, like, why did they choose that? So the major symbols will be highlighted. There's an affirmation. and then you get to meet the goddess or the archetype. But wait, there's more. You've got the divinatory meaning, and then there's ways to work with that goddess, which is really fun because having something to kind of go on if you want to go a little bit deeper with a goddess just feels like it just makes you, it gives you the tools that you need to go into the card and go into what you're working with in a way. And, you know, when we're talking about dealing with a goddess, I feel like that's not something that you just glaze over. It's, you know, goddesses need to be honored. And so taking the time to actually work with the energy and possibly some of the ideas that she's given, it just kind of takes the heavy lifting out of it and takes you into the place where you can just work with the card. There's a shadow meaning. So you could read that as reverse, or you could even just explore your own shadow that way. And then how to heal. This is a powerful deck that if you are working with your story, working on sovereignty, or working on healing yourself, this is great for the stories that you're stuck in, because nothing is going to shake you out of that by getting in the presence of a powerful archetype that the collective consciousness has worked with for a very long time, or the goddess, like the embodiment of these powerful essences that are universal truths for all of us. So let's talk about working with this. There's a couple ways that you can work with this deck that I want to recommend. The first one is by, of course, traditional drawing a card and putting that out there and feeling your way into what that goddess has for you. But the other way is to go through, and if you're facing something, is to just go through and look at the cards and see which goddess is calling me, or which archetype, and just looking. Don't look at the names. Don't, you know, kind of tune that out, because then you're going to, if you look at the names, then you're going to use your mind and you're going to try to figure out, oh, is that the right one for me? Just trust that your inner self knows the right one, the right one. So like, let's say we got the healer. And so now I'm going to just like dive into the picture itself, what it's saying to me, why am I drawn to it, what in it is calling me, how does that immediately speak to me, what kind of immediate messages come through. Maybe you want to pull out a tarot. This is Ethany's Penumbra Tarot. So maybe you want to sit here and while you're gazing at this card, think about what needs to come. Ooh, that one. What needs to come before I can work with this? And then what can come after. And you can see, I think these work really nicely together. They're the same size. It's a larger tarot. I know some of you don't like large tarots, but I do. I love a card where I can see everything that's going on there. And so, you know, I might work at this. Here's the healer, just a mock little quick thing here. The Eight of Swords popped up. So I really need to realize that I'm not trapped. And then I have a way out when I honor my story, honestly, because this is about our story and what's repeating and the fears that are coming up and feeling as though we're being hemmed in and trapped by that. So, you know, before I can really heal in this area, I need to address this aspect of my story. And then I would move over here to the Tower reversed and what needs to come next. So that's just a way that you can work with tarot and oracle here together. Again, this is Ethany's Modern Goddess Oracle, and this is her Penumbra Tarot. Next up on my list is by Joanna Pohl. It's the European Goddesses and Spirit Oracle deck. This is another fun one. So I'm going to feature a couple aspects of this deck. So the deck itself comes with this great little book right here. Look at these backs. Aren't these backs nice? It's a matte finish. Oh, maybe it's kind of shiny. It's not super shiny. Anyway, the cards shuffle like a dream. They really do. It's a great little deck. And you've got these beautiful cards. I really like this illustration style. And the borders are unobtrusive. That's something that's kind of big for me, maybe not for you. Let me know who out there is a borders person. Like, do you like borders or not like borders? Scotty. So there are, one of the things that I appreciated about Joanna Pohl's European Goddess and Spirits is that she chose not to do goddesses from all over the world. She felt like she was connecting with the European goddesses, and she stuck to that. She just stayed in her lane, so to speak. So this isn't meant to be like something that's exclusive, like pushing other goddesses out. It's just meant for her to honor like the place in which she feels comfortable, and not trying to speak to spirits and goddesses that she is not comfortable with. This is the companion book. It's an extra that you can get. And I want to talk about the difference in these two books here. This is a great little book. If all you can afford is to get, this set, it is a tuck box, but it's a nice one. If all you can afford is to get this set, you're going to get enough. It's not going to be inadequate in any way. So here's Ariane Rod. And then there's a keyword, and then it kind of talks a little bit about her. She's going to go through and talk about what this goddess reminds you of, how she comes in to talk to you, speak to you. And then she's got like a little kind of prescriptive thing in here usually, like keep your own wants and needs in mind. Down here, you don't need to balance everything with meticulous precision. So it's got some ideas. And then down here, it's got a nice set of questions for you to ask yourself. And I want to talk to you about how you can use that. So as far as readings go, you can use these questions as springboards. So let's say, and there are plenty of walkthroughs on this out there. I think I even have a walkthrough on my own channel. I can't remember. I've done so many videos. But let's say, I'm just trying to choose one that maybe I know a little something about. She's nice and bright. She'll show up really nicely here. Aphrodite. Let's say that you choose Aphrodite. And so you go to the book. By the way, the cards are not numbered, but they are in alphabetical order. So that makes it easy, or easier. I am froggy from allergies. So then we have in here, what does love mean to you? What types of love do you seek or foster in your life? And then it's got, how can you allow yourself to love? And can you accept love, the love you receive, or is it easier for you to love others? So you might pick one question that challenges you in relationship to what is going on. And then, of course, you would grab a deck. I'm trying to grab a deck. Let's just pause. I've grabbed the Tarot de Carlotides here. So, I was kind of intrigued. I think I do struggle to accept love a little bit. And it is easier for me to give. And so I might, instead of just thinking about that question, I might think about what question comes up for me and just what can I do to partner with accepting love. Look at that. And then I got a jumper, and look at how lovely these match. So it even feels, this is, of course, is a mock reading. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but we have the Four of Cups. And to me, this is definitely about realizing that there is more being offered to me. There's like the three cups that I know about, and maybe that's like how I give love. But there's something wonderful that is being offered to me that I should accept from the universe when love is being offered to me. Sorry about my dogs, everyone. I don't know if you can hear that terrible barking. But so then I might explore this even further. And of course, I'm big on surrender. So I'd grab Judith Orloff's Surrender, Power of Surrender deck, my favorite deck. If I could only have one deck, this would be the one. I know you're thinking like, wow, like of all the decks I have, and I have a lot, this is the one that I would take. Yeah, because we're always surrendering to something, because change is, we're surrendering to or giving up something. And I would flip that over. And look at how this is a mock reading, but look at how beautifully the colors are lining up. I always love that when I'm mixing decks, and these are different styles, but the colors just sort of pull it together. That's something that's really important to me. Let me know when you mix decks, what's important to you. Like, do you like the colors to match up? Do you like illustration styles to match up? To me, it's just the feel. So surrender to what is, flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is brings you peace. So that's interesting. I kind of feel like maybe the message here for me is having more compassion for myself. I tend to have a qualifying spirit on me, and so I think that having that compassion and allowing myself to receive love is something that's important to me. So this is just one way that you can work with the European Goddesses and Spirits deck. I do want to feature really quickly the companion book because it's full color, which is really nice. So you get this beautiful, oh my gosh, my dog. Hold on, everybody. Okay, I have a nervous healer. So again, you can see that you've got Angarboda. I love her story. So you can see that you've got the full color on this side, and then it's got the name and the themes, and then it talks about her, which is this right here, that part. But then you've got this. So it talks about divination and the personal message, grief and anger. It's got questions for you again, but then it's got a correspondences section, which is kind of fun to kind of learn about this goddess. And so it might be interesting for you as you're tapping into what part of your story you're working with right now. Maybe I need to do some rescripting here, rescripting my story. I could go here and look with, the correspondences and connecting and choose one of these that kind of feels appropriate for me to really tap in with that goddess and tap in with this aspect of my story. I could make an altar to receiving. That's just an idea, like the altar comes up. I don't need to necessarily make it for her, but I could make an altar if you're more witchy into receiving. Shameless plug here, if you haven't checked out my other channel, which is Natural Witchery, you can check that out. It's down below in the description. So that's probably the one that I would go towards. You earth signs might go towards the luscious food. So in this instance, the book itself gives you these springboard questions, and I think these are excellent for discovering your story and discovering what's going on with your story. Sometimes when we're deep in it, trying to figure out what the heck we're doing and why we're doing it, we just don't have the right questions. So being able to lean on this book and just allow the questions to take you to a new level, a new place in your story where you don't have to think of what the right question is. And these questions might surprise you. I find that they are incredibly deep. And again, I have been very surprised by what comes up for me. You can work with this by answering the question straight off the top of your head and then drawing cards on it, or you can draw cards with the question. And I think that, again, this just creates this ease in shifting our story and then can allow you to really uncover some of the narratives that you're creating in your life that are keeping you either stuck in a pattern or are opening up opportunities for you to move into greater acceptance of self and therefore expression of self. Next up on my list of decks for working with your own story is by Anthony DeMello, and it's the Awareness deck. There's 108 cards for reflection and inspiration in here. No book, because it is a word deck. And if you know me, oh, look what I've done here. You know that I like word decks. I don't know why I have this flipped like this. Obviously I was doing something. I'm going to jump in here and remind you that I have a newsletter down below. And when you receive that newsletter, you get access to my learning library that has free printables about tarot and the craft. It also lets you know when I'm having my monthly tarot get-togethers where I talk about different aspects of divination with the cards and how to work with them in ways that are meaningful and maybe expand your consciousness about the cards themselves and how you can connect more deeply with them. So, look at the sides, isn't that cool? Here's the back, it's glossy. And then you're just gonna get these thoughts. So this is a really interesting deck. This deck can be challenging. I will say there's something a little pokey about this deck. I don't know how else to explain it. This deck makes statements as though they are facts. And there's something about that that challenges the rebel in me. And so I chose this deck because it's good to have a deck that challenges you. It's good to have a deck that makes you say, do I really believe that? And when you start that kind of conversation, that contrasts your own story with the story that someone else is presenting, it really allows you to delve into your beliefs and then think to yourself, like taking it a step further, is that belief actually healthy? Or is the belief that is being presented to me here even healthy, or something that I want to try on? We can try on things and not necessarily keep them. And so that is why I've chosen this deck by Anthony DeMello, because I feel like we need something that interjects thoughts that really take us to a different place. And that's what I mean about pokey. This thing kind of pokes me like, hey, what do you think about that? You may not have the same reaction, but I have a tendency to really bristle against absolutes. So there's something about the commanding way that these statements are made that make me kind of go, do I really believe that? I don't know. Maybe I want to argue with you, or maybe I feel a little convicted by that, and therefore I need to do something about it. Okay, I'll just read one. We're surrounded with joy, with happiness, with love, and most people have no idea of this whatsoever. The reason? They're hypnotized. They're asleep. Imagine a stage musician who hypnotizes someone to see what is not there and not see what is there. So the cards they're meant to really open your mind. Got a terrible shadow here. Let's switch this. They're meant to open your mind up and get you thinking in a different direction. I had this one here. Wake up, put on a new mind, take on a new way of looking at things. For the kingdom is here. It's the rare spiritual seeker who takes that seriously. So there's a little bit of a poke, a little bit of a nudge with these cards that I find. So if you're someone who does not want to be challenged, this would not be the deck for you. And I'm not saying like all of them are challenging, but there's a little something there. I'm a very contemplative person, so there's a little something there that kind of pushes me. Anthony DeMello has created this deck, and I could probably use this for a lifetime and never draw the same card because there's so many. But let's talk about working with this card. Let's just work with this one right here. Spirituality means waking up. Most people, even though they don't know it, are asleep. They're born asleep. They live asleep. They marry in their sleep. They raise children in their sleep. They die in their sleep without ever waking up. So, I might just I'm grabbing a deck as usual. I've grabbed the original tarot here, the premium edition. You can get these on Etsy. This one's brown. Brown is like my favorite color. Orange is my favorite color, but brown and green, probably my second. So what I would do here, this is a traditional Rider-Waite, by the way, but it's shiny. Shiny in a good way. Like there's lots of definition. So even though it's sparkly, it still works really well. So I think for doing something like this, what I like to do is something where I would shuffle the cards and ask, what kind of resistance am I feeling here to this? What resistance to exploring this aspect of my story am I feeling right now? Okay, and then I might put in here, so I think I would go with resistance, like right now. Sometimes I would move on to a different question, but let's just go ahead and move this over here because I think I want to add on. So this is my resistance. I'm going to put it up here, make sure it's in frame. Spirituality means waking up, and to me, this is the dream. So where is the dream within the dream? Where's my dream? Where's my story within this? And to me, this question is, how is the Maya, the illusion that keeps us asleep, contradicting my own personal dream? And how's that calling me? So let's do how's that calling me? And then how's that influencing me? Wow, look at all these major arcana. Then I would just read into these. I could draw a surrender card, and then I could even just draw another card for clarity on each one of these. So you can really expand the reading. Again, if you are going to do something like this where you are figuring out your questions as you go, please get a piece of paper and write them down. I can't even remember right now what it is that I was asking here. And so you need to write down the questions because it's really important to come back to your question. That question is really going to frame the card and keep you from kind of going off on a tangent. So again, I want to recommend the Awareness Deck by Anthony DeMello. I think you'll find that it's a fun way to create pathways to understanding your story in a fresh way, and just kind of like challenge the status quo. And these are going to bring up questions that we don't get from our everyday spreads, past, present, future. It's you're really going to be challenged by the Awareness Deck and what it offers to you, because it's going to hit you at a subconscious level. Thanks, Anthony DeMello, for this. It's been really fun. Yeah, this is a really fun deck, and I like the idea. It's definitely one that I'm going to use in the future. It's not just going to sit there, because I like to ponder things. If you've ever gotten an email from me, then at the end of it, it says, "This is your life, this is your story, make it a good one." Never be afraid to rescript boldly, cross out characters, invite new ones in, and trash the whole thing if you need to. But I think there's something beautiful about the subtle ways that we rescript our lives and allow new things to come in through doing that and upping our consciousness. The last deck that I want to recommend to you is the one that you are going to recommend down below to everyone watching this video. So what is your favorite storybook deck? Like, what deck helps you to really work with your story and move into looking at your life through the lens of story, which is a powerful way for each one of us to connect to ourselves in a non-threatening fashion. So let us know down below what that is. If you made it all the way to the end here, I'd love it if you put down below like a book emoji or like a pen emoji, something about rescripting your story. Also, if you have these decks, please share the ways in which you work with them. When we share, we really allow other people to learn or feel like they're seen, like, wow, I do that too. And that's a cool place for all of us to connect. Until we meet again, may you really have the bravery to rescript where you need to and use your decks to help you do so. If you're looking for more ways that you can honor yourself and your decks, you might find something really interesting in this video up here.